Having killed the evil king Kansa, Krishna and Balaram traveled to the prison where Vasudeva and Devaki were lodged. They touched the feet of their parents and released them from their fetters. Vasudeva took them to his heart, although he could not understand how he could enclose Parameshwara in his arms and how to treat God as his son. What a situation! What thoughtful, lovely words. Bhakti ras, Karuna ras, all mixed in this writing. Krishna was clear in his mind that only if Vasudeva and Devaki forgot his divinity and that of Balaram, they would enjoy the happiness caused by the restoration of their sons. Exercising his divine powers, he made sure that his parents totally forgot about the birth of two divine sons to them and looked at them as human beings, young sons on whom the long-suffering parents could dote. Krishna humbly bowed before them and said, "Beloved mother and father, it was unfortunate that for several years we had to live away from you. While you pined for us, we lost the opportunity of receiving your love and affection during those years. We are aware of your longing and of the agony you had to suffer because we were born to you. It is the parents who give birth to a child. Here is a message for all the children of the world. The parents rear him and look after his comforts under all circumstances. Only then does this body become a medium for attaining moksha. A child cannot repay the debt of his parents even if he serves them for 100 years. If he does not look after his parents and his gurus, his life is worthless, said Krishna. Both of us are deeply indebted to you, O mother, O father. Overwhelmed by affection, Devaki and Vasudeva took both the boys in their arms. They anointed them with their tears. Krishna now anointed Ugrasen, Kansa's father, as the king of Mathura and as the head of the Yaduvanshi clan. It was time to tell Nanda the truth and to console him for the loss he was certain to feel acutely in the days to come. Krishna went to him and said, "Father, you and our beloved mother Yashoda reared us with deep affection and love. I shall always be known as Nandalala and Yashoda Putra. Millions of sons have been named Nandalal in India in the last few thousand years." Krishna continued, "You are my real parents because you treated me since the day of my birth. You reared me. Now you depart for Vraj and assure everyone that I shall never forget them." Undoubtedly, all of you would be unhappy at the turn of events. However, happiness and sorrow are transient. You will always be in our thoughts. Here we can look forward to Krishna speaking to Arjuna in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Having bid farewell to Nanda and Yashoda and their companions, they loaded the travelers with generous presents of clothes, utensils made of metal and ornaments. And then they went to their parents, who sent them for their formal education to the ashram of a guru by the name Sandipani. The story continues. In the hustle and bustle of Mathura, Krishna had not forgotten the Brajvalas. He sent for his trusted kinsman Uddhav and said, "I cannot trust anyone more than you. I propose to send you on an important assignment to Vraj where live my parents, Nanda Baba and Yashoda. Please go and make them happy with good tidings about us." in Vraj, Uddhava, live our beloved gopis. I am aware of their agony at our departure. Carry my message to them and relieve them of their suffering. What is the message? To tell you in confidence, I am always thinking of the gopis who sacrificed their homes, left aside their husbands and children in order to be near me. Even now they are totally absorbed in thinking of me. This is Bhakti Ras. They have accepted me as their lover in their wisdom. It is my vrat that whosoever gives up attachment to this mortal world in order to surrender to me will be taken care of by me. I am the be-all and end-all of those gopis, and at my departure they believe that I have gone away forever. They go on thinking of me all the time, and at times even faint. They suffer acutely in my absence. Only the promise that I shall return has kept them alive. This promise is their life support. Uddhav, I am their soul, the breath of their life. Give them this message. Setting out early one morning, Uddhav arrived at Brajbhumi by sunset. As compared to Mathura, Vraja presented an entirely different spectacle. Uddhav saw amorous bulls chasing cows ready for copulation. The cows that had recently delivered calves were running with heavy udders to feed their offspring. Pretty grey and white calves ran hither and thither. Wherever cows were being milked, the milk spray falling on the side of the receptacle produced the sound of Krishna's flute. Dressed in evening finery, the cowherds and their women had assembled at various places in order to speak about Krishna and listen to the accounts of his exploits when he used to be in Vrindavan. In the Gopa homes, lamps had been lighted in the tiny temples built for worship of Agni, Surya and Atithi, the cow, the Brahmins and the ancestors. The air was fragrant with burning incense. The houses had been decorated with strings of flowers. Thousands of flowers were blooming in the gardens. Birds chirped and the black bees droned. In the ponds, lotus bloomed and swans and flamingos floated serenely. Uddhav was welcomed with joy by Nanda after he had taken some rest. Nanda asked him, when will our Govind visit his near and dear ones in Vrindavan? Does he think of us? Does he remember all that is here, his own Braj, the cows, Vrindavan and Giriraj? If he visits us even once, his own Braj, we shall look at his fine nose, his delightful smile, his lotus face, his captivating glances. All that is here reminds us of him. The Giriraj he had lifted in his palm to save us from the flood. The forests where he played on his flute while grazing the cows. We look at them, get lost in his contemplation. Nanda was so overwhelmed, he choked and shed tears of viraha and joy. Yashoda, who sat listening by his side, was in the same state of mind. Her motherly love overflowed. Assuring them, Uddhav spoke words of wisdom. He said, Sir, you are the one who has conquered pride. Therefore, you are the more venerable. You too are more fortunate than any other human being because you have loved Bhagavan as your child. Balaram and Krishna are the creators of this universe. They are its cause as well as justification. It is they who send a surge of life through human beings. If a person on his deathbed remembers them with a pure conscience even for a moment, he wipes out all his desires and consequent actions. And brilliant like the sun, immersed in Brahman, attains moksha. In this incarnation, you are the parents of Bhagavan, Mahatma. Nothing more auspicious remains to be done by you. Sri Krishna will visit Gokul sooner than later and offer you unimaginable joy. In any case, you can look at Sri Krishna at all times. He resides in your conscience, in your mind, nay, in the minds of everyone, just like fire hidden in the wood. This is Bhakti Ras. You can think of God for as long as you want. He's always there. It's a matter of concentration, meditation. Eliminate all thoughts. Think of God. Uddhav continued, I have a message from him. Being what he is, Bhagwan is neither attached to anyone nor does he spurn any person. In his view, no one is degraded nor is anyone superior to others. Even those who discriminate amongst others are not discriminated against by him. He is neither a mother nor a father, neither a wife nor progeny. No one belongs to him, no one is away from him. He does not have a body, he is never born. In this world he performs no action. Yet, for the sake of relieving the distress of the sadhus, to destroy evil, he takes birth again and again in recognizable forms. These words are repeated in Gita as well. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharam sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I am born again and again for helping the saintly people and for relieving the earth of the evil. Uddhav continues, our mind is like the mind of a child, dizzy while going round and round playing games. Due to ignorance, our mind, that otherwise is the source of all action and thought, assumes that he is the subject and doer of all deeds. It's arrogance. However, that is not so. Krishna alone is mother, father, the soul and the master of all creation. He is the doer. He is the ultimate truth. A whole night was spent talking like this. In their homes, the gopis as usual got up early to look after their daily course. They lighted lamps and worshipped Vasudeva on the wooden thresholds of their homes. They swept their homes and sat down to churn the curds. Golden bangles shone on their wrists while they pulled at the churning cord. Everything moved rhythmically. Their necklaces, their breasts and their hips, their undulating ear tops reflected light from the tiny lamps onto their kumkum smeared cheeks. These are lovely images. One can just stop and think of them. The gems studied in their ornaments radiated light in all directions. All this time the gopis sang of Krishna's exploits. Their music was enhanced by the churning sound produced in the pitcher. Spreading all over, the sound of music purified even Swargalok. At sunrise, the gopis noticed the golden chariot in which Uddhav had travelled from Mathura, parked outside Yashoda's home. A thought that Akrura might have come again worried them a bit. However, being Krishna away in Mathura, what greater harm could Akrura do? While this guesswork was going on, Uddhav arrived to talk to them. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai Sri Krishna, Jai Sri Krishna, Jai Sri Krishna.